The champagne flute trembles in Elena's hand as she watches Marcus through the glass partition. He's leaning against the mahogany bar, his dark suit perfectly tailored, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth as he listens to something the event planner whispers. Near his ear. To near Mrs. Castellano, the caterer's voice cuts through her spiral of thoughts. Should we begin setting up the surprise entrance for your husband? Your husband? The words feel foreign on her tongue lately. When did my husband become your husband? In her own mind, give me 5 more minutes, she murmurs, unable to tear her gaze away from the scene unfolding beyond the frosted glass. The woman Sophia, she remembers, now has honey-colored hair that catches the ambient lighting like spun gold. She's younger than Elena by at least a decade, with that effortless confidence that comes from not yet knowing disappointment. The way she touches Marcus's arm while explaining the evening's timeline sends heat crawling up Elena's throat. It's innocent, professional. It has to be. But Marcus is laughing now. That deep rumble that once made Elena's knees weak during their college years. The same laugh that's been absent from their marriage. For months, she watches as Sophia's hand lingers on his sleeve, fingers tracing the fabric as if memorizing its texture. The birthday boy seems to be enjoying himself already. Comes a voice behind her. Elena turns to find David, Marcus's business partner, holding 2 glasses of wine. His knowing smile makes her stomach clench, just coordinating final details. She says, accepting the glass with hands that aren't quite steady. David's eyes drift to the window. Sophia's quite thorough with her coordination. The implication hangs between them like smoke. Elena takes a sip of wine, the burgundy coating her tongue with bitter complexity. She comes highly recommended. I'm sure she does. David's voice carries an edge that makes Elena's pulse quicken. Though I have to wonder if Marcus knows what kind of surprise he's really getting tonight. Through the glass, Sophia has moved closer to Marcus, her clipboard pressed against her chest as she gestures toward the private dining room. Her free hand rests on the small of his back, a gesture too intimate for mere event coordination. Elena's wedding ring catches the light as she grips her wine glass tighter. 17 years of marriage, and she's standing here like a stranger, watching her husband through a window. I should go check on them, she says, setting down her barely touched wine. Elena. David's hand closes gently around her wrist. Maybe you should see how this plays out first. What's that supposed to mean? But David's expression tells her everything she already suspects, and nothing she's ready to hear. The truth sits heavy in her chest like a stone, making each breath feel deliberate. She watches Marcus run his fingers through his salt and pepper hair, the gesture she knows means he's either frustrated or roused. Sophia says something that makes him throw his head back and laugh again, and when he looks down at her, there's something in his eyes Elena recognizes. Hunger. The same hunger that used to be reserved for her. I need some air, Elena whispers, but her feet remain rooted to the spot, because despite the ache spreading through her chest, despite the way her hands shake with something between rage and heartbreak, she can't look away. There's something mesmerizing about watching your life fracture in slow motion, like a wine glass falling through honey. Sophia reaches up to straighten Marcus's tie, her fingers lingering at his throat. He doesn't step back, doesn't create distance. Instead, he covers her hand with his. The gesture is small, meaningless to anyone else, but Elena knows her husband's touches, knows the difference between polite and possessive. This isn't coordination, this is seduction, and Marcus isn't resisting. Elena's heels click against the marble floor as she approaches the private room, each step echoing her thundering heartbeat. The hallway stretches before her like a gauntlet, lined with golden sconces that cast dancing shadows on the walls. She pauses outside the door, her hand hovering over the brass handle. Through the crack beneath, she can see the warm glow of candlelight within. Her surprise, the intimate dinner she planned for 40 of Marcus's closest friends and colleagues waits in darkness beyond, but it's the sound of low voices that stops her cold. Told you this was dangerous, Marcus is saying, his voice thick with something Elena recognizes, but hasn't heard directed at her in months. Everything worthwhile is dangerous, Sophia replies, her accent carrying the hint of something European, refined, sultry. Elena presses closer to the door, her breath catching in her throat. She shouldn't be listening, shouldn't be here, lurking like some paranoid wife in a melodrama. But she can't move. Elena will be here soon, Marcus continues, and there's something in the way he says her name, resignation mixed with guilt, that makes her stomach drop. Will she? Sophia's voice carries amusement. Or will she find another excuse to delegate? Another committee meeting that's suddenly urgent. The accusation hits Elena like a physical blow. It's true she has been busy lately, throwing herself into charity work and social obligations with desperate intensity. But it was to give Marcus space, to stop hovering over a marriage that felt like it was slipping through her fingers. She's trying, Marcus says, but even he sounds unconvinced. When was the last time she looked at you the way I do? Elena's hand flies to her mouth. Stifling a gasp, through the slight gap in the door, she can see them now. Marcus seated on the velvet sofa she specifically requested for the venue. Sophia standing before him with her clipboard abandoned on the coffee table. Sophia, Marcus's voice carries warning, but his body language tells a different story. He's leaning forward, drawn to her like metal to magnet. When was the last time she made your pulse race? Sophia continues, moving closer until she's standing between his knees. When did she last make you feel alive? Elena watches, transfixed, as Sophia reaches out to touch Marcus's face. Her fingers trace his jawline with reverent precision, mapping territory that Elena once knew by heart. This is insane, Marcus whispers, but he doesn't pull away. His hands find Sophia's waist, spanning her narrow frame with familiar ease. Is it? Sophia's voice drops to barely above a whisper. Or is it the first honest thing that's happened to you in years? The question hangs between them like a confession. Elena sees Marcus's resolve crumble in real time, his careful composure dissolving under Sophia's knowing gaze. Elena's a good woman, he says, the words sounding like an epitaph. Good. Sophia laughs, the sound like crystal chimes. What a terrible thing to be called by your husband. Practical, reliable, good. She shakes her head, honey hair cascading over her shoulders, but never irresistible. Never the woman who makes you forget your own name. Elena's reflection catches in the hallway mirror, and she barely recognizes herself. When did she become this woman? This careful, controlled version of the passionate girl Marcus fell in love with? You don't understand, Marcus says, but his hands tighten on Sophia's waist. We have history. 17 years of settling. Sophia interrupts. 17 years of convincing yourself that comfortable is the same as happy. She leans down until her lips are inches from his ear. Elena can't hear what she whispers, but she sees the effect. Marcus's eyes close, his breath catching as if Sophia's words are a physical caress. The guests will arrive in an hour, Marcus says, but it sounds more like a plea than a statement. Then we have an hour, Sophia replies, straightening to look into his eyes. An hour to remember what it feels like to want something more than duty. Elena's wedding ring cuts into her palm as her hands clench into fists. She should burst through the door, should confront them both, reclaim her husband, fight for her marriage. Instead, she finds herself stepping back into the shadows, because some part of her, the part she's been trying to silence for months, recognizes the truth in Sophia's words. When was the last time she made Marcus's pulse race? When had she last been anything more than good? The sound of movement in the room makes her heart hammer. Through the gap, she sees Marcus standing, towering over Sophia with an intensity that makes Elena's breath catch. If we do this, he says, his voice rough with desire and conflict, there's no going back. Sophia's smile is luminous. Darling, she says, reaching up to cup his face in her hands. There was no going back the moment you looked at me and remembered who you used to be. Elena turns away before she can see what happens next, but she doesn't leave. She can't. Elena finds herself in the venue's powder room, gripping the marble sink until her knuckles turn white. The woman staring back at her from the gilt-framed mirror seems like a stranger, elegant but hollow, perfectly put together but somehow faded. The soft jazz from the main dining room filters through the walls, a soundtrack to her unraveling marriage. She'd chosen that music, had spent hours curating the perfect playlist for Marcus's 40th birthday, wanting everything to be flawless, wanting to be the perfect wife. Her phone buzzes. A text from her assistant. Guests arriving early. Should we delay? Elena stares at the words until they blur. 30 minutes. The party starts in 30 minutes, and she's hiding in a bathroom while her husband. She can't finish the thought. The powder room door opens, and Elena quickly touches up her lipstick, forcing her expression into practiced serenity. But it's not a guest who enters. It's Sophia. They stare at each other in the mirror. Two women caught in the gravitational pull of the same man. Sophia's reflection is radiant, her skin glowing with the unmistakable flush of desire fulfilled. Her hair is slightly mussed, her lipstick gone. Mrs. Castellano, Sophia says, her voice carrying that same European refinement, now tinged with something Elena can't quite name. Guilt, defiance. Sophia. Elena's voice is steadier than she feels. How are the final preparations coming along? It's an absurd question under the circumstances, but Elena clings to politeness like armor. Sophia steps closer, and Elena catches her scent, something expensive and intoxicating, now mixed with the familiar cologne that Marcus wears. The combination hits Elena like a physical blow. Elena. Sophia's voice drops, becoming almost gentle. I think we need to talk. Do we? Elena turns to face her directly, abandoning the safety of the mirror's reflection. What about? Sophia's composure wavers for the first time. She looks younger suddenly, uncertain. About Marcus, about what just happened. And what was that exactly? Elena's voice carries a dangerous quiet. For a moment, Sophia says nothing. Then, with startling honesty, the beginning of the end of your marriage. The words hang between them like a blade. Elena expected lies, justifications, anything but this brutal truth. How long? Elena asks, surprised by her own calmness. Tonight was the first time we. Sophia trails off, then squares her shoulders. But I've been planning this party for 3 months. 3 months of meetings, phone calls, late nights coordinating details. 3 months. Elena thinks of all the evenings Marcus came home energized, talking about the party preparations with enthusiasm she hadn't seen in years. She'd been grateful, thinking it meant he was engaged with his milestone birthday, with their life together. Instead, he'd been falling for another woman. He talks about you, Sophia continues, her voice soft, about who you used to be. The woman he married was passionate, spontaneous. She made him laugh, made him feel alive. Each word is a precision strike. Elena absorbs them without flinching. And now Elena asks, now she's gone. Sophia says simply, and you're both too afraid to admit it. The truth of it settles over Elena like cold water. When had she become so careful, so measured? When had she stopped being the woman who would dance in the rain or surprise Marcus with spontaneous weekend getaways? So you decided to save him from his boring wife. Elena's voice carries an edge now. Sophia's eyes flash. I decided to show him what it felt like to want someone again, to be wanted. She pauses, then adds with devastating honesty, when was the last time you looked at your husband and felt desire, not duty, not comfort, pure, desperate want? Elena opens her mouth to protest, but the words die in her throat, because she can't remember. The realization hits her like a physical ache. That's what I thought, Sophia says quietly. So what now? Elena asks. You steal my husband and live happily ever after? Sophia's laugh is hollow. Steal? Elena, you can't steal something that's already gone. Before Elena can respond, voices echo in the hallway outside. The first guests, arriving early as her assistant warned. The party, Elena whispers. Yes. Sophia moves toward the door, then pauses. For what it's worth, I didn't plan for this to happen tonight. I thought we'd have more time to figure things out before destroying 17 years of marriage in front of 40 witnesses. Sophia's reflection meets Elena's in the mirror one last time. Maybe some things need to be destroyed before they can be rebuilt. She leaves Elena alone with her shattered composure, and the sound of laughter growing louder in the hallway. Through the powder room's small window, Elena can see the private dining room where Marcus waits, probably straightening his tie, preparing to play the role of surprised birthday boy. Elena touches her wedding ring, remembering the day Marcus slipped it onto her finger. They'd been so young, so certain that love was enough to conquer anything. Now she wonders if love without passion is enough to conquer anything at all. Her phone buzzes again. Another text, ready to surprise the birthday boy Elena stares at. Her reflection one more time, then straightens her shoulders. She may not be the woman Marcus married anymore, but she's still Elena Castellano, and it's time to face whatever comes next. Elena enters the private dining room like an actress taking the stage. The space has been transformed into an intimate paradise. Candlelight flickers against wine-colored walls. White roses spill from crystal vases, and the scent of her husband's favorite meal wafts from the adjoining kitchen. 40 faces turn toward her, expectant smiles lighting up the room. Friends, colleagues, family members she's known for years, all gathered to celebrate Marcus's milestone birthday. And there, at the center of it all, stands her husband. Marcus looks devastating in his charcoal suit, the one she helped him choose. Last month, his silver-streaked hair is perfectly styled, his smile warm and genuine as guests approach to offer early congratulations. To anyone watching, he appears to be exactly what he should be, a successful man surrounded by love on his 40th birthday. But Elena sees that tells others miss. The slight tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes dart toward the back of the room where Sophia stands with her clipboard, professional mask back in place. The almost imperceptible adjustment of his tie and nervous habit she's witnessed 1,000 times. Elena, Marcus's business partner David, materializes beside her, champagne flute in hand. Brilliant surprise. Marcus had no idea, didn't he? Elena murmurs, watching as Marcus's gaze finds hers across the room. For a moment, the noise of conversation fades. Husband and wife lock eyes, and Elena sees guilt flash across his features before he schools his expression into practice. Affection. He begins moving toward her, weaving through clusters of guests, accepting handshakes and embraces along the way. Elena watches his approach with strange detachment, as if observing a performance rather than living her life. "Happy birthday, darling," she says when he reaches her, rising on her toes to kiss his cheek. His cologne envelops her, the same scent she detected on Sophia in the powder room. "Elena." His voice carries warmth, but she hears the strain underneath. "This is incredible. I can't believe you pulled all this together." The lie sits between them like a third presence. They both know who pulled this together, who spent months coordinating every detail, who made Marcus laugh during late-night planning sessions while his wife attended charity functions. Well, Elena says, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing server, "I had help." Her eyes drift to Sophia, who's directing the waitstaff with quiet efficiency. Even in professional mode, she's luminous, drawing male attention without trying. Marcus follows Elena's gaze, and she watches his jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. "Sophia came highly recommended." Elena continues, her voice conversational. "David suggested her, said she was very thorough." "She's been wonderful to work with," Marcus replies carefully. "I'm sure she has." The double meaning hangs between them, loaded with everything they're not saying. Round them, the party swirls on, laughter and conversation, the clink of glasses, the warm buzz of people celebrating. Marcus clears his throat. "Elena, we should speech." David's voice booms across the room, cutting through their tense exchange. Other voices join in, chanting until Marcus has no choice but to acknowledge the crowd. Elena watches as her husband transforms, his practiced charm sliding into place like armor. He moves to the center of the room, raising his glass with that megawatt smile that once made her heart race. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Marcus begins, his voice carrying easily across the space. 40 years old. Somehow I thought I'd feel different, more settled. Scattered laughter ripples through the crowd. Elena notices Sophia watching from the periphery, her expression unreadable. "But standing here, surrounded by the people who matter most to me, I realize that life isn't about reaching destinations." Marcus continues, "It's about recognizing when you're exactly where you're supposed to be." His eyes find Elena's as he speaks, and she sees the question there, the uncertainty. For a moment, she almost believes he's talking about their marriage, their life together. Then his gaze shifts just slightly, just for an instant, to Sophia. "So thank you," Marcus concludes, "for reminding me what it means to feel truly alive." The room erupts in applause and cheers. Guests surge forward to congratulate him, and Elena finds herself swept into a tide of well-wishers, each offering some variation of what a perfect party, and he's so lucky to have you. But Elena barely hears them. She's watching Marcus navigate the crowd, accepting congratulations with one part of his attention while the other remains fixed on Sophia. Even as he shakes hands and accepts embraces, there's an invisible thread connecting him to the woman orchestrating his celebration. Elena excuses herself from a conversation about vacation homes in the Hamptons and moves toward the balcony doors. She needs air, needs a moment to process the surreal performance they're all giving. The October evening is crisp, Manhattan glittering beyond the venue's terrace. Elena grips the railing, letting the cool air fill her lungs. It's beautiful. Comes a voice behind her. Elena turns to find Marcus approaching, loosening his tie with one hand while holding two glasses of wine with the other. The view, he clarifies, offering her a glass, though I suppose you've seen it before. Planning all this, another small lie, another opportunity to pretend they both don't know the truth. Marcus, Elena says quietly, we need to talk. He freezes, wine glass halfway to his lips. Here, now, when else? Between the charity auction next week and your conference in Chicago? Elena's voice carries exhaustion rather than anger. We never talk anymore. Not really for a moment. They stand in silence, the city lights reflecting in the wine glasses between them. Elena, Marcus begins, then stops, starts again. I never meant for I know, she interrupts. Neither of us meant for a lot of things. Behind them, laughter spills from the party. Elena can hear David telling his infamous golf story, the one that always makes Marcus laugh. But Marcus isn't laughing now. He's staring at his wife with an expression she can't quite read. What do we do now? He asks quietly. Elena considers the question, rolling it around in her mind like wine on her tongue. What do they do now? How do you rebuild a marriage that's been quietly crumbling for months? How do you compete with a woman who makes your husband remember who he used to be? I don't know. She admits finally that it's the most honest thing either of them has said all evening. The party continues inside a blur of laughter, clinking glasses, and conversations Elena should be hosting, but she remains on the balcony with Marcus, the weight of 17 years settling between them like autumn fog. Do you love her? The question slips out before Elena can stop it. Marcus goes very still, his wine glass suspended halfway to his lips. The question hangs in the crisp air, impossible to take back. Elena, he begins, but she cuts him off with a raised hand. Don't lie to me. Not tonight. Not anymore. Her voice is steady, though her heart hammers against her ribs. Do you love her? Marcus sets down his wine, grips the railing until his knuckles whiten. When he finally speaks, his voice is raw. I don't know. He pauses, then adds with devastating honesty. But I feel alive when I'm with her. For the first time in years, I feel like myself again. The admission hits Elena like a physical blow, but she doesn't flinch. Somehow, hearing the truth is easier than living with the uncertainty that's been gnawing at her for months. And with me, she asks quietly. Marcus's silence stretches long enough to be an answer. Elena nods, accepting what she's known, but refused to acknowledge. When did we become strangers, Marcus? When did I become someone you needed to escape from? You didn't. His response is immediate, fierce. Elena, you're an incredible woman. You're brilliant, accomplished, respected, but not desired. The words taste bitter on her tongue. Not wanted. Not the woman who makes you laugh until your sides ache or keeps you up all night, talking about dreams and fears. Marcus turns to face her fully, and in the soft light spilling from the party, she sees the man she fell in love with in college, the one who used to trace poetry on her skin with his fingertips, who would drive 3 hours just to bring her soup when she was sick. We grew up, he says simply. We became responsible adults with mortgages and dinner parties and 5-year plans. Somewhere along the way, we forgot how to be reckless with each other. Elena's laugh is hollow. Reckless. When was the last time we were reckless? When did we last make love instead of having sex? When did we stop talking about anything that mattered? The questions hit their mark. Marcus runs his fingers through his hair, that gesture she knows so well, and for a moment, he looks lost. I don't know how we got here, he admits. I don't. No one comfortable became empty. Through the glass doors, Elena can see the party winding down, guests beginning to collect coats, exchange final congratulations, the perfect birthday celebration drawing to a close. Unaware that the guest of honor's marriage is dissolving on the terrace, Sophia makes you remember who you used to be, Elena says, finally voicing what they both know. But Marcus, she doesn't know who you've become. She doesn't know about your nightmares after your father died, or how you cry during old movies when you think I'm not looking. She doesn't know that you check on me 3 times every night when I'm sick, or that you still leave me notes in my coffee mug even when we're fighting. Marcus's breath catches Elena. She knows the man you wanted to be, but I know the man you are. Elena steps closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. The question is, which one do you want to keep? For a moment, they stand suspended in possibility. Elena can feel the pull between them. 17 years of shared history, of inside jokes and quiet mornings, of building a life together brick by brick. But she can also feel the distance, the careful space they've learned to keep between them, the way they've stopped reaching for each other across the bed, the conversations that stay safely on the surface. I don't want to lose you, Marcus whispers, and Elena hears the boy she fell in love with bleeding through the man he's become. But you already have, haven't you? Elena's voice is gentle, not accusatory. We've been losing each other for months, maybe years. Behind them, the sound of chairs being stacked signals the party's end. Elena knows that in minutes, they'll have to return inside, play their roles as host and hostess, thank guests for coming, pretend everything is fine. What do we do now? Marcus asks again, the question more urgent this time. Elena considers all the possibilities. The marriage counseling sessions where they'd sit in careful silence, the attempts to recapture something that might already be gone, the slow, painful work of rebuilding intimacy with someone who's become a stranger, or the alternative, the honest acknowledgement that sometimes love isn't enough, that sometimes two people can care deeply for each other, while admitting they've grown into different people, who need different things. I don't know, Elena says, finally, but I know we can't keep pretending. We can't keep going through the motions of a marriage that ended somewhere along the way, without either of us noticing. Marcus moves closer, close enough that she can see the regret and confusion and desperate hope in his expression. Elena, he begins, and she hears 17 years of history in the way he says her name. I never wanted to hurt you, I know. And she does know. This isn't a story of betrayal or malice. It's the more complicated truth of two people who loved each other enough to build a life together, but somehow forgot to keep falling in love along the way. The balcony door opens, and Sophia appears, her professional mask in place, but uncertainty in her eyes. I'm sorry to interrupt, she says carefully, but the guests are asking about final toasts. Elena and Marcus turn as one to face her, the woman who's become the catalyst for their reckoning. In the soft light, with her golden hair and luminous skin, Sophia looks like everything Elena used to be, but somehow stopped being. Young, passionate, unafraid of wanting something desperately. Of course, Elena says with practiced grace, we should get back to the party. But as she moves toward the door, Marcus catches her hand. Elena. His fingers intertwine with hers, and for a moment, muscle memory takes over. Her body remembers. Loving this man, being loved by him. This isn't over. She looks down at their joined hands, his wedding ring catching the light next to hers, then back up at his face. Isn't it? She asks softly. And in that question lies everything they need to decide, whether 17 years is worth fighting for, whether comfort can be rekindled into passion, whether two people who've grown apart can find their way back to each other, or whether sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. The party waits inside, full of people who love them both, unaware that everything has changed. Elena squeezes Marcus's hand once, then releases it, walking back into the warm light and laughter, leaving him to follow or not follow, to choose the woman he's built a life with or the woman who makes him feel alive. The birthday celebration continues, but the real party, the messy, complicated, heartbreaking business of being human and in love and lost all at once has only just begun.